Welcome to the SWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the SWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. We're here with one of our new guest hosts, Miguel. How are you doing today, Miguel?
Doing amazing. Thank you, Lucky.
That's awesome. So Miguel comes to us with a background in project management and a bunch of other things. So why don't you share a little bit about what you're up to these days, and then we'll go back in time about you as a kid. So what are you up to these days?
Oh, perfect. So I'm currently the senior project manager for Scotiabank. I'm in charge of all the strategic initiatives at the global level. The things about what I love about what I do is that I'm constantly in contact with a lot of the people and teams that I have. I love what I'm doing because it's like I'm in charge of a lot of different projects globally, and yeah, I'm blank.
No, that's all good. So why don't we talk a little bit about you and the transition to get there. So I'd love you to share a little bit of your childhood. Yeah. What was Miguel like as a kid? Earliest fond childhood memory?
Yeah, so earliest childhood memory. Well, I remember that I always wanted to help people. For some reason, that was very important for me. And the reason I chose to study business was because I wanted to do something more. I was between being a doctor, a psychologist, or going for business. And I decided business because I thought, you know what, this is the best way to help more people at the same time. Like, if I was a doctor, I would only be helping like 100 people a day or 200, but I wanted to help even more than that. So back in the day, when I was probably a teenager, I said, like, I want to positively impact around 1 billion people before I die. And since then, I've been trying to do more of that. So that was kind of like the beginning of my memories back in the days. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I'd love if you shared a little bit more on that. So where did that come from? Were you always like the caretaker of your friend group, or like the cousins or the siblings and stuff like that? Kind of that nurturing type? Where do you think that might have come from?
Yeah, I remember being as a kid as very curious, always learning, loving to learn. It might sound sad, but at the same time, I grew up in a difficult neighborhood in Mexico City. So imagine this: you live in a street where both ends are gated, and we have gates like 20 feet high and with spikes, and really scary. So I'm in that little court or that little street, and there are not like that many children. So my parents didn't allow me to go out of that gated area because that area was safe. Outside, not so much. But interesting enough, outside was the park where everybody was playing. So even though I was not able to go outside, I guess I took refuge on books and learning. I learned to code. I did learn a lot of skills just by being, on my own pretty much the entire time. And at the same time, because I was not that social when I was at school, I remember I was bullied a lot. And since then, I think from a very early age, I was very philosophical as well, because I always thought that the world was upside down, that the good is bad, the bad is good. I had a lot of different thoughts about this. And I said, I would like to do something about this very early in my life. And yes, with all my friends, with all my groups, I always started to do something different. So I knew that I wanted to be in business by myself, an entrepreneur. So at some point, I started doing a lot of different projects. I wanted to do bigger and better things every time. So I remember once I did a project to help senior people to be dignified and to be again, to provide this, to help them be seen again. Because imagine this, like after having a whole life full of everything, when you become a senior, especially in my country, like you become kind of like a different kind of citizen, where you are no longer that much important. So I wanted to go back and help with that. I created this organization, and it was really good. It was called Wise Hands, where people will be knitting scarves. We send scarves around the world, and people were able to connect and see like, okay, who was the creator of this scarf? What was her point or his point of view in life? The advice for young generations and so on. That project took off really, really nice. So like that, many other stories.
That's amazing. So it sounds like through that childhood and that upbringing, you matured very quickly, and you kind of found that sense of contributing back to the world. Started with kind of the seniors, and obviously have a whole many more along the way. I'd love if you shared a little bit of that influence on the business part. Like you mentioned doctors, psychologists, and business. Like were family, friends, were they business people? Were they all doctors? Were they all whatever? What were some of the influences that folks had around you?
Oh, for sure. Like I have a lot of family that is doctors, psychologists. I have entrepreneurs as well. But going back to my influence, I think my grandma was my biggest influence because back in Mexico, parents will often go to work full time, and the full time hours is pretty much from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So it's very common for children to be raised by their grandparents or uncles or family. But my grandma took me on, and she taught me a lot of things at a very early age. She taught me how to knit, how to cook, how to do different things with the sewing machine, and it was very interesting and weird because I was this little kid with an old soul, I guess, because of this influence with my grandparents. So that was my first one, and that's why my love and deepest respect for senior people, and also how I wanted to dignify that in a way, and also from my different uncles and family members, I got bits and pieces. For example, from my parents, what I love and what I got was I really learned accountability, like ownership. There was no way that they will not deliver or they will not finish what they said that they want to finish. If they committed to something, that was going to happen. So that kind of thing is still with me. Sometimes to a degree that is not that healthy, because it's like, okay, I need to finish this no matter what. And that's part of like who I am. And that's why I'm really good at everything that I do, because it's like, okay, it's going to happen. It's like I find the way or I make the way. So I learned that from them. From my parents, my grandparents, what I learned was diplomacy and how it's more attractive to treat people with honey instead of vinegar. So definitely that part. It's how you can connect with people, how to win friends, influence people, how to persuade, how to be that center where everybody feels attracted to, like, okay, I want to know more about this person. And because I was raised by my grandparents, I used to read a lot. So very early in high school, everybody was like, okay, Miguel, what are your thoughts about A, B, and C? Because I already had an opinion. I read books that way advanced back in the day. And sometimes that helped me a lot in school. So for me, school was super easy. It was like, okay, I don't need to study. It's like, this is done. And that created me a lot of trouble with all other students, where it was like not that easy. So of course, jealousy and all of this. I was not that good socially, but I had a lot of things. I think I always say that I'm an introvert, because I definitely am an introvert, and that helped me a lot in many different areas, like on how to focus, how to work, how to grow. But at the same time, on the social aspect, I had good friends and mentors that helped me along the way to become more like who I am right now. So I can tell you, like, there are so many different people that just put a little bit more into my recipe of success, into the ingredients that baked in who is Miguel today.
That's amazing, and kind of lends itself to yourself, who kind of adds those ingredients to other people's lives as well. And I'm
Exactly.
wondering if you could share a little bit about that school journey. So you
Mhm.
was it always that in high school I was going to get into business? You just went for the business schools, or was there ever any kind of discussion along the way? Was there a specific area of business that you wanted to get into? You're obviously now in the project management side. Like, was that known to you during that time? But tell us a little bit about like the desire to get the business and the journey or interest in project management.
Yeah, so I wanted to be in business because I knew that if I'm in business, I can help people, I can help families to be better by providing purpose, by
Okay.
providing paycheck, by providing benefits. So I knew that I was a step before. It was more preventive than corrective because as a doctor,
Right.
as a psychologist, it was more on the corrective side. It's like, okay, so I'm one step before. So that was my mindset. And that's why business was okay. My goal is to open multiple business and have thousands of employees. That was when I was in high school. And since then things have evolved, and this it's incredible. But the next part that happened was that I started generating all of these business ideas, and I will go with my family, and it's like,
Okay.
hey, would you invest in this new idea? I just need 50,000 or 100,000. I mean, and my
Okay.
family will be like, oh, okay, you know what? Your numbers are not that strong. You're fine. Your financials are weak. And they told me that forever. No, it was like I will create a new idea, and they will tell me, no, you know what, you need to improve your numbers because those return
Right.
uh, percentages are not right. So I said, you know what? After my business degree, I'm going to do a master's in finance because I need to master this thing about the numbers. And
Right.
incredible, because I was so focused on that, I became the best financial modeler that on that school, and even to the degree that sometimes the banks in my hometown, they will say like, who prepared this financial model? And it's like, yeah, it was me. It's like, wow, it's one of the best I've seen. Like, people from the banks saying that. So to that degree. So it's funny enough, just to go back to that story. Now that I have the good financials and good business ideas, I will go with my family. It's like, I just need 50,000 or 100,000 to launch this idea. And they will be like, oh yeah, your financials are quite strong, but we don't have the money. So there was always something about supporting my ideas, but my grandparents supported many of those, and yeah, so many with good success, so many failed. But going back to my career, when I decided to move to Canada, was because I wanted to answer one question that I had. I wanted to know if I had what it takes. So I knew that back in Mexico, I was doing really well. I was very successful because after finishing school, thanks to a professor from that finance master in finance, a professor recommended me to be hired as the CEO of one of the companies that he used to work for, and I got the job
Wow.
because of the strong numbers and my drive. So for like 4 or 5 years, I did that job. It went really well, like multiply the business like crazy, and just like recent grad, right? So super happy. So yeah, of course I said, like, you know what, I need something bigger, and that's when I decided to come to Canada. And things in Canada were not that simple because when I arrived, I was super cocky. I was like, hey, where is the prime minister? I'm going to tell him how to run this country, to that degree, right? But no, it took me 5 years to find a job in my profession. And during those 5 years, my confidence crashed. I was like, okay, there is something really wrong about me. I don't know what to do. So definitely that part impacted me a lot. And for those 5 years, ups and downs, mental health issues. I was not aware that I was depressed because I never in my life I felt
Mm.
depressed. So I was like, oh wow, what's this? What is this feeling? So long story short, my mess then became my message. In that now, for example,
Mm.
I help people, newcomers, to say, you know what you're experiencing, you are not alone, and you are not the only one. Thousands of people like you are experiencing the same thing. It happened to me. So definitely, let me help you. Let me help you connect the dots faster. Let me help you find that meaningful employment faster as well. And I have started some organizations to help with that. But going back to the story, it's that
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to help people. I studied business. Then finance just came because I wanted to showcase that my business ideas were good. But then that opened the doors to so many different things, so many different opportunities, like the CEO of this coffee company. Eventually, today I'm working for Scotiabank as in the project management world. But before I was the
Okay.
product management. So I used to work for TD and as a product manager, then jumped to Scotiabank as a product manager, which is kind of like a CEO, a mini CEO within the organization, because you're in charge of everything related to that product. And then, of course, evolve into project. So product and project for me has been very close to me, because it's especially if you have this entrepreneurial spirit, it helps you a lot, opens the doors to so many different opportunities, because you have the drive, you have that ownership, accountability of making things happen. So you're going to be very successful. I found that project opened the door for me to get into product, because project is quite a little bit simpler to get in, just because you start you could potentially start as a junior project manager, start meeting people. You meet a lot of the stakeholders that are the decision makers, and then jumping into product could be as easy as good connections and understanding well your project and what you are doing with that product, that's exactly what happened with me. And now in product, wow, you're at the center of the organization completely, especially if your product is one of the most important ones. I used to manage all the savings accounts for TD and all the savings accounts across Canada for Scotiabank, probably for 7-8 years or something like that. It was a long time. It always felt like he was like running this marathon at a sprint pace, because he was like, okay, there is so much moving, so much going on, billions and billions of dollars, people asking you to, grow the portfolio, bring more money. And that's stuff I really love, because it's like, okay, we have a challenge. Here's the business case. What should we do? And it's like engaging people. My project management skills come very naturally, because it's like, okay, let's engage, let's communicate. Oh, change management. What are we going to do about it? And so on. So my journey has been more into like intrapreneurial way. Now exploring and becoming more is like, how can I help people through that too? Because even though I'm doing project management globally, as I was mentioning, I'm also the co-chair of an employee resource group within Scotiabank called Hola.
Okay.
And this group helps employees with Hispanic background like me to elevate their profile, to help them be better, to grow within the organization. So I'm always there helping, coaching, mentoring, launching programs, and so on. So I do my 9 to 5, helping people as well, and managing projects globally. So that's a long story, but I think that's the story. It's kind of like success is not that linear. It goes like from left to right, up and down, and then finally it's like, okay, yeah, this looks like me, which is probably an organized mess.
That's amazing. So thanks for sharing that trajectory. And I want to dive a little bit into some of these points, and because there's a lot to unpack in there. So I'd love if you take us back to like just graduating your master's, right? So you're this hotshot, smart financial modeler guy, and then out of a school gets appointed CEO. Can you walk us through a little bit about that journey? Like, what was the awesome parts? Maybe some of the challenges in that point of your life.
Yeah, I discovered that because when I was doing these presentations with my family, it's like, hey, this is my idea, and here are the numbers. My family is quite direct. It's like, oh, those numbers suck, or it's like, oh, that will never work. So I was always like a little bit mad and angry. It's like, okay, I'm going to show them, like the real numbers. And that's why I took that master's degree with like so much hunger, and I really want to show them the numbers, and I will be like, okay, finally, they are great. So I pretty much went through the master. I paid myself, by the way. I was working on the side, paying my masters at the same time. And because I was so hungry and dedicated, a lot of the professors were like, oh, wow, who is this guy? Like what's happening here? And to the degree that I will be doing financial models of like thousands of lines and multiple sheets and everything, and it became my obsession, to the degree that today, if you send me a complex formula on Excel, or if you send me something, for me it's like my canvas. It's like a place where I just feel so relaxed. I'm on the flow, I'm on the zone. So it's like fixing cells, calculating here, up and downs, and I feel so amazing. So for me, it was like I found one of my passions of like, hey, this is my thing. Okay. Because of that passion, that genuine interest of I'm doing better. One of the professors told me, it's like, hey, I'm not going to be working for this company anymore, but I'm going to move to a different state. I think you might be a good candidate for that group. No, they need a sales manager. He's like, okay, with good financial background. He's like, okay, perfect. And I did something that you recommend all the time. Okay, it's like I start asking questions like, okay, so what do you like about the company? What do you wish you knew early? Like all of those questions, asking my professor, and he gave me so much good feedback. And he said like, okay, in your first meeting, don't go saying what do you have to offer me. It's like, here's my plan. They want to see your plan. So it's like, okay, perfect. I prepare a plan. And then you need to have a letter of intention and a 30, 60, 90 and all of these recommendations. So I came so prepared on that meeting that of course I blew off my competition completely because I was exactly what they were looking for. But I was
Right.
exactly what they were looking for because I had a mentor. I had this professor that walked me through, pretty much handhold me and said like, okay, this thing that you're working on is not going to work. Change it. Uh, talk about these results. Don't talk about the other thing. Focus on what is important for them. So because of that, I got that job for sure. Like no doubt
Mm.
about it. And I thought I was interviewing for a sales manager role. So like, okay, I was completely surprised when the owner of that company, which is one of the biggest and most prestigious coffee companies in Mexico, the owner told me, you know what? Forget sales manager. I need somebody, uh, higher than that. And he said like, okay, no, you're the general manager. You're the CEO of this coffee company. And then immediately I got like 30 people reporting to me, which that opened the doors to so many different lessons learned because there were people that 20, 30 years of experience looking at me like recent grad in my 20s. And it's like, what are you going to tell me? It's like,
Right.
why should I hear you, And then, of course, within time, I win them over and it was great, but it took a while. It took a while because it's not that simple.
That's awesome. And that's probably a deep dive story for a
Yeah.
future episode. I'd love if we kind of fast forward a little bit. So your
Yeah.
time in Canada. So you're now this guy who is the financial modeling wizard and multiplies revenue and for companies. And you're going to prove them all wrong or right, or prove yourself right in Canada. And then you alluded to the experience wasn't exactly as you had hoped. Can you describe kind of the first couple of years and hopefully not relive too much of that trauma, but kind of share that, well, sometimes things can be hard, but there is possibility to pull yourself out. Could you share a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, 100%. And this also comes with stuff that I wish I knew early for sure. So the first one is like, hey, I'm quite successful in Mexico. I'm just copy pasting my formula, and I should be successful in Canada. That was my mistake number one. It's like, hey, it's like telling somebody that I'm a good fisherman in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to be a good fisherman in Lake Huron. It could potentially be, but no, it's not the same thing. Like there are different places, different techniques, different approaches, so much. So when I came here, I started doing what I thought it was successful, what I thought it was like the right approach. But I didn't account in my considerations that, of course, Canada is a culture of cultures, and Canada is like the diversity index in
Right.
Canada is huge compared to Mexico. Mexico, we might have one or two, three
Yeah.
different cultures, and here we have hundreds. So all of that impacted completely my approach, my confidence. I was like, okay, what happened to me? I was completely not expecting that it was going to take me so long. Back in Mexico, friends being executives and doing so well. And here in Canada, I'm just, working in survival jobs, which there is nothing wrong working in survival jobs, but my confidence was completely like down. Um, Now, fast forward, I was going to those interviews and I was like, I can guarantee you I can double your, do this and great, create that. But I think what I lacked was my network. I was not known in the market. No one knew about my success or how big was my company or everything that I used to do before. So it was like to prove again who I was. And it's interesting because now I have helped so many newcomers, hundreds of newcomers I have helped within all of the last probably 8 or 9 years. And the first thing that they told me, or that they tell me, is something that I felt. It's like, thank you, Miguel, for helping me find this job because now I feel like me again. And that was my
Mm.
feeling too when I was able to break through for the first time. It's like, wow, I'm feeling like me again because before I knew and I knew I was successful. I knew I'm doing great. I knew the quality of my work, but it was like nobody cared or nobody knew or nobody. Yeah, it's like good to know Miguel, but until that point, I think when I felt like me again, it's like, okay, perfect. Now I can go to the next level. And that took me like 5 or 6 years probably. And when I'm saying like I found a job in my profession, I found a job in my profession at a junior level, not even like at the level I had before. It was like, okay, probably 3 or 4 steps back. But at least I was in the right track. At least I was starting. So sometimes you just need to take into account for those factors. And just to potentially some stuff that I will recommend is that to speed up this process as well, focus on your confidence, because if your confidence goes down just for a little bit, oh boy, things are completely not going to work. One of the things that a mentor told me, by the way, that I wish I knew before, it was like, Miguel, and it was funny because he told me, Miguel, from 0 to 10, how would you rate your confidence? And I would be like, it's like 6, maybe a 7. And then this mentor told me, well, will you ever date a 6? And I was like, no, I don't think I will date a 6. It's like, okay, exactly, right? So what are you going to do about it? And then he told me, when your confidence is not at a 10, when your confidence is not like completely like, I know this is going to happen, that certainty, things are not going to happen. Things are not going to progress, because if your 10 becomes a 9, then you open the door to doubt. You open the door to second guess yourself, and then that slows down all your momentum. And then slowly it goes to a halt completely. So your number one job in this process, like finding a job, opening a business, whatever it is to be your confidence bodyguard. That's your number one job. And to always be to take care of your mental health, because of course confidence impacts mindset impacts belief impacts actions, and so on, right? So again, everything starts with that little thing, confidence, which is huge, but that thing that it's super important. And also the way you speak to yourself. Another thing that I recommend a lot is what another mentor told me: will you be friends of somebody that is very critical, somebody that is really tough with you, somebody that always shows just to tell your mistakes and how you suck? And you're like, no, I will not be friends of that person. It's like, okay, interesting, because why are you doing that to yourself? And they're like, oh, wow, that's true. Like, I'm very critical. I'm very like pushing and putting a lot of pressure on my journey and everything I do. And that usually happens when you're an achiever, when you're like, oh, I need to be number one. Sure. It's like, oh, I need to showcase all of this and that. But eventually I learned that compassion it's super important in your formula of success. Also being to respect the times, and also to honor your person and your journey and everything that you have done. So that part, it took me a while, a lot of meditation, a lot of like understanding the process. But it was huge. It was huge once I put those things into my formula. That helped me a lot, because now I put the pressure down and I was able to enjoy the process. And it's like, okay, perfect. And fast forward on that, it's like, now I'm able to, I've been able to get job promotions without even applying. My last 6 job promotions, by the way, were over a coffee meeting. Like 2 managers actually told me, could you please just upload the resume, because if not, we're going to get in trouble. And they was like, yeah, for sure. So I got hired without even a resume. So to that degree. So from being rejected thousands of times just because my resume was not, keyword specific, to now is like, could you please just upload that thing just to, checkbox the thing and keep moving. So that's huge. That's what I see. Well, that's what I try to help people to do as well.
That's amazing. And even though you shared a lot of that, there's a lot more to deep dive in and unpack again, hopefully for another episode. I took a whole bunch from there, and a lot of it that I shared myself, where I often tell people about like kind of the 6 or 7. Most people give themselves that in an interview, like a tell me about yourself. It's like, would you hire a 6 or 7? So why would you practice only until that point? So those same types of things. Survival jobs, again, there's no harm in them. Like, do what you need to do. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about like what kept you motivated during that time. So you land in Canada, you're doing the same thing, copy paste the formula, and then you get like punched in the face a few times, like, well, hopefully figuratively, not literally. But you're getting rejected here and there. You have to take these survival jobs. You were like a superstar well, landing like a CEO role, and now you're working survival jobs, and you have to slog it out to get there. So, what kept you motivated during that process?
I think
If you can share.
being completely transparent, I think it was pride. It's like, I'm not going to go back
Okay.
to my friends, like looking down and ashamed of myself. If I'm going to return, I'm going to return, like looking up and super happy about my journey, And for many years,
Right.
I did not go to visit my family because of that. It was, and also when they call me, it's like, oh, everything's great, everything is awesome. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to pay the rent this month, to that degree. Because another thing that I learned too is that being vulnerable is actually a strength instead of a weakness. I was raised to believe that being vulnerable was to showcase that you are weak. But I know that completely shifted my mindset as well. It's like, it's okay to raise your hand and say, I need help. It's okay to like approach people and ask for help. So another episode on that too, for sure. But
Right.
What kept me motivated was like, there is no turning back. I burn my boats. I don't have other things that to make and to break through this, like, because if not, it's I actually, at that point, I remember. And to make it more interesting, Lucky, when I got my papers to come to Canada, the biggest deal of my
Yeah.
life came on my laps. It was like, Miguel. It was funny because on one hand, I received my paperwork to come to Canada, and I have 6 months to do it. If not, I lose 2 years of paperwork. And then on the other hand, one of the biggest coffee producers in Mexico says, you know what? I've seen what you have done for this company. I want to go in partnership with you, 50-50. You don't put any money. I put everything, coffee, machinery, assets, whatever. I just want you to do the same. So that decision of like, okay, stay and grow this business or go to Canada. No? So of course I told that guy, it's like, hey, thanks so much for that, but I think I need to go to Canada because that's part of my dream. And so for me, the decision coming to Canada was like, I left back one of the biggest business opportunities that I potentially could have. No? But and then here in Canada, for me, my first job was as a coffee server at Tim Hortons, and I was thinking every day, like, okay, I think I made a huge mistake because I just left a multi-million-dollar potential of business just to be here, like mopping floors, and that was my thought on a daily basis for years. So it was like, no, I need this to work out. So fast forward, today's my year number 13 in Canada. I can tell you, I'm living my Canadian dream. I'm living exactly what I wanted. I feel safe. I feel amazing. I have a beautiful, amazing wife with two amazing little boys. It's exactly what I always dream about. So I don't have any regrets or any like, oh, I lost an opportunity of my life. Not at all. With the benefit on hindsight, I can tell you, it's like, it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. To showcase my commitment of like, okay, this is going to work. And of course, it's like, I cannot go back because I pretty much I will go back to nothing.
That's amazing. So again, lots more to unpack there, and I think we'll have many more episodes in there as well. And it just goes to show that sometimes pride is not a bad thing, right? Hopefully, if you're stubborn for the right reasons and for your own success, and if you're, as you said, kind of guarding your confidence and able to get to that route, then you could lead the life of your dreams. So as we kind of close off the episode, I'd love if you shared a little bit of your SWIKE. So I know you shared a lot of it before, but are there any ones that you want to kind of elaborate on, or any additional ones that you want to share? So the stuff that you would tell young Miguel as he's going through all these trials and tribulations during the process.
Of course, it's like, do not waste time on trial and error. It's a very outdated thing out there. I did it for many years. And for some reason, I had this idea that success is self-made, that self-made people like they were successful. And it's a huge lie because I have not seen one person without a mentor or without a coach or without somebody that influenced them significantly to achieve everything. So from philosophers all the way to like current businesswoman. So that's the first. Do not waste on trial and error. Just find somebody that already went through the same journey, that figured out the thing that you're trying to figure out, and just ask the questions. Like, everybody is so open to share. So yeah, and if you need to pay for a coach just to pay for speed and expertise, 1,000% recommend. Why? Because even though it's an expense that, okay, it's an extra thing that you need to do, but now, for example, they were. I worked 5 years in survival jobs, earning survival money, which is pretty much minimum wage. And if I compare that to what I earn today, which is not a crazy amount of like money, it's just like a decent amount, like for a senior project manager, the gap is significant, and I left so much money on the table. So if somebody told me it's like, hey, for this much, I can help you get that faster, the return on investment is huge. So 100% recommend that. Another thing on the personal side, I would say for those that are looking to choose the right partner, 1,000% spend the right amount of time analysis on choosing your right partner, because having the right partner on your side makes life incredible, like a dream. But if having a person that that you don't know that well, you grew up together, or that you start finding out different things, or things change, then that creates another set of like complications and creates and distractions. So I have experiences, and we can go on another episode on that as well. But I can tell you that having the right partner on your side and spending time with a partner, it's huge. So, I'm very happy that I trusted a friend that she told me, it's like, you should do this online dating. I was like, what is that? And the algorithm worked like wonders with me. So I 100% recommend that. And lastly, it's like success is just more about living your dream or finding the right job. Success, I think, is tied with significance and transcendence. So for me specifically, it's like helping people, paying it forward, is to being there for somebody that could benefit from my advice, from my mistakes. There is a new term that I just recently discovered: other people's mistakes. So learn from them. Exactly. So you can speed up your process. So I'm all about speeding up the process and helping people just to connect the dots faster and be successful. I think, recently I see myself as a success partner in terms of I'm here to help you, to get to the next level faster.
That's amazing. So yeah, quite interrelated for two of them. So obviously the mentor part, the success is self-made, and the other part is you should also give back and share your knowledge with others, which I think is important as well, because I think there's the pay it back, pay it forward, however you want to take it, can be helpful, because you were helped by a lot of folks during your journey, and to be able to kind of repay that kindness for the next generation or the next person in line would be great. And the part on the partner, well, this is more of a careers podcast, but that does have a huge impact on having a successful career. So that might be a deep dive episode as well. So thanks so much, Miguel, for sharing your insights, your story, and hopefully we'll have you back to deep dive in a bunch. But before we go, if you can share a little bit about like future aspirations, or where can folks go to find out more about you and reach out?
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Future aspirations, I want to do what I'm doing today, but on a larger scale. I have helped hundreds of newcomers since the last 8-9 years. I just want to multiply it. So I'm really focused on that. That's my new pet project. I'm doing it through two different organizations. One is called unstoppableme.rocks, and you can type that's the domain. We are a community of like-minded individuals, professionals, helping each other to go to the next level. And the next one is an organization called tryfaster.ca, where we are a career accelerator program. Our goal is to speed and to help you make your transition faster from where you are to where you want to go. So yeah, my main philosophy here is that how can we help you find that meaningful employment, meaningful opportunity faster, just like to connecting with the right people, connecting with the defining exactly what you need to do just to do your journey a little bit more smooth and enjoyable. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Miguel Abascal, and I'm happy to connect and chat for sure.
Sounds good. And we'll include all those links into the show notes. And again, thanks, Miguel, for sharing your SIWIKE, your journey and your insights. And we're looking forward to having you back on a future episode.
Oh, thank you, Lucky. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us on the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Luki Danu, LUKIDANU, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.